Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with a layout, my first layout of 2020. Whoop whoop! And I decided to do what I read in 2019 as my first layout. I always start the year by sort of wrapping up the year before, so I always talk about what my goals were for my reading, and then I make some layouts for the new year. So in the next few days, you'll see my goals video, what my goals are for my reading and also for my personal life. And also I do a page on my word that I want to keep reminding myself all year, sort of as an encouragement. So this is an Ali Edwards thing that she does, and it's, to choose your word for the year. So that'll be coming up very shortly. But today let's talk about the layout for what I read in 2019. So if you are a member of Goodreads, at the end of the year they have a place where it says my year in books in 2019. And what I like is that it keeps it there, for as long as you're a member. So I started in 2016, so I can go back and see what my goal was in 2016 and how many books I read, and so on and so forth, 2017, 2018, 2019. Now in 2019, I decided that my goal was 100 books to read for the year. The year before, I read 121 books, which I knew wasn't going to be feasible for me this year. The year before, I ended up having a hernia, so a lot of times I was in so much pain before I had my surgery that I couldn't move. So I knew that that wasn't going to be the type of year I was going to have this year. But also after my surgery, I ended up, it was like a couple of weeks before that I was able to stay up for the entire, 10 or 12 hours a day. So I knew that 120 some books was not realistic for me for this year. So I brought it to 100, and it was a challenge. Like, I finished my last book on December 30th. So I was one day ahead of finishing my challenge for the year, which I knew coming into December, I still had 10 books to read. So I knew that I was going to have to really buckle down and make sure that I read every single day, which I pretty much read every single day. I just had to, I read a lot of big books, and let's talk about that. So in the year, I read 37,458 pages in that entire year. I read, the average length of my books was 374 pages, which is, pretty up there. It's not as if most books were under 300. They were closer to 400 than 300. So let's talk about where my category has the most books read. So as far as length of books, from 300 to 399, I read 50 books. From 400 to 499 pages, I read 19 books. From 500 to 600, I read 9 books, which is, it's kind of a lot. And then from 600 plus, I read 4 books. So really, I read 13 books that were over 500 pages. So that's pretty good. That's at least one book a month that was considered a tome, like a big book. So let's talk about how I got the pictures that I got. So I went on my year in review. I just clicked on it with my phone, and then I just took screenshots of my year in 2019, and it gives me my total read pages and how many books. Then I just scrolled down a little bit, and then I took a picture of the shortest book that I read this year, which was Liam's Story, which is part of the Darkest Mind series. It's a novella. And the longest book I read was Kingdom of Ash, which came in at 984 pages. So that was a big book. But Sarah J. Maas's books, I can fly through them. Like, I just love her books. And then the next picture, I just scrolled down a little bit more and I kind of just took a screenshot of some of the books that I read this year. And when I looked at that, I was like, ooh, those were some of my favorites that I read this year. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Like The Kiss of Deception, I absolutely love that series. Every single book was a 5 stars. Queen of Air and Darkness, that was the end of the Dark Artifices series. Love that book, was a 5 star. The Nightingale, love that book. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, absolutely love that book. The Heart of Betrayal, which is the second book in the Kiss of Deception. Daisy Jones and the Six, 5 stars. The Queen of Hearts, like all those books I just absolutely love. So those is, of course, it's just a little sample of the books that I read. So this page kit was a page kit that I had put together for my making page kits in December 2019. This is one of the page kits, and I believe this is one of the page kits. And I had put on there that I wanted to make a page of camping and reading, but I knew that I wanted to do this page before we're too far into the year. So I knew that some of the things in here had to do with reading. Like there's one of the little stickers that said read this. Another one is the story of today. And so there was a few things that were about reading. So I decided to use it for this. And you know, the reading and camping, I'll be able to find another page kit that I can definitely make a page with it. Now, I have these pockets that I've had forever, and I seem to use them once a year, and it's usually with this layout, the what I read. And the reason that I love them so much, or like that pocket so much, is that it gives me a place to put all my 3x4 project life cards, because I will literally, I sat down after I finished this layout and I wrote down the 100 books that I read on those little 3x4 project life cards, and I stuck it into that little pocket. And I know that I have my bullet journal where I keep track of all of that. Every year I make, you know, a little pretty page, and then I write down the books that I read and how many pages and all this stuff. But realistically, those are fun to have around right now, and it's keeping, you know, sort of my journey on how I'm reading the books and everything. But that, I can see that that can be something that once it's full, it'll probably get thrown away. So at some point, you know, I've had it now, I think I'm going on the third year or fourth year with it. Third year, I think. And already it's starting to be a little raggedy. So I know that at some point I'm going to throw that out. So by putting all the books that I read in that specific year on a scrapbook layout, I know that that's going to be in my album and it's going to be sort of safe. Now on those little cards, I wanted to put a little washi tape at the beginning of the cards and at the very last card. And so I went and found some washi tape. Of course, you know, a lot of my washi tape is 1/2 inch. So what I do is I spread it out on my mat. I take a ruler and I cut it in half, because I much rather have a washi tape that's 1/4 inch than 1/2 inch. Now right here next to the picture, I'm going to kind of keep the little tally of the length of the books that I read. So I started with 0 to 99, then 100 to 199. And actually I made a little boo-boo here. You'll see I'll put 0 to 100. And then I was like, no, but the rest of them I fixed it. So I would put from 100 to 199 and 200 to 299, so on and so forth, up to 500. And then it's like 600 and plus. So 0 to 100 pages, I read 3 books. So all of them were novellas. From 100 to 199, I read 6 books. From 200 to 299, I read 9 books. From 300 to 399, like I said a while ago, I read 50. From 400 to 499, I read 19 books. From 500 to 600, I read 500 to 600, I read 9 books, and 600 plus, I read 4 books. I wanted to start 20 series and I started 23. I want to finish 15 series and I finished 16. And I wanted to read 10 books over 500 pages and I read 14. So a really nice success. But that's it. That's all the books that I read in 2019. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.